So I threw it up on Craigslist, and within a couple hours, people started inquiring, and my entrepreneurial brain, kicked right into gear, and I thought, oh, this is a business. And, here we are. That was in 2016. Now we've got just about 40 locations around the country. Just to clarify, our goal is 100 by the end of this year, and we have hundreds of RVs under management.
Garr, welcome to the show today.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Now, it's my understanding that you, your wife, and I think 4 kids have been RV living fully for 5 years. What do you love about RVing?
Yeah. We just ended our 5-year journey a little bit ago. 15-year-old teenage daughter. We had the biggest RV you could find, and it was time to get back into a house for a little bit. But man, the biggest thing I love about RVing really is it's community, and I love variety, right? As an entrepreneur, I love that tomorrow I can decide, hey, I want to stop by the world's first Kentucky Fried Chicken, and or I want to go whale watching in Maine, or whatever. So I love the variety of it, and then going to a campground and just community. I love that. It's people don't do life in community like they used to. Where everyone's hanging out in their front yards. Now everybody's in their backyards, and nobody knows each other. So.
Well, 5 years is an awful long time to be away. I mean, describe a little bit what that's like, and especially when you first left. I'm sure there were some conversations with your family and also maybe with your friends and coworkers about maybe how crazy you are.
Yeah, it started off, we left for a winter. We left for about 5 months. California, Arizona, around there, and then went back to Michigan. And then we were back in Michigan for the summer for our busy time for our RV rental business. And then the following year, I told my wife, hey, I want to go for longer, and so then we went for 7 months. And then it just kind of got longer and longer and longer. Then it turned out to where we were kind of cheating too. So we had a property up in Michigan on a lake where we had an RV parked. We had a property down here in Florida, like a little hobby ranch where we had an RV parked. And then we had an RV, we were traveling back and forth. So to the true RVers out there, they might, say that I'm kind of cheating. I wasn't a full-time RVer like they are, but close enough.
You had some breaks in there. Yeah, but it went beyond just you loving to RV and taking trips and spending time, but you have now a significant RV rental business in the 8 figures, and you expanded this into a franchise with nearly 100 locations by the end of the year. So tell me a little bit more about what your business is right now, and I'd love to kind of dig in on how you got started with all that stuff. But this is really a vehicle for people to become financially free and enjoy what they're doing as well. So what does your business look like right now?
Yeah, so basically what the model is, it's taking other people's RVs that are sitting around doing nothing and putting them to work for them. So similar to like the Airbnb arbitrage model or property management, it's, there's over 12 million RVs around the country, most of them sitting around doing nothing. Maybe use them maybe on Memorial weekend, maybe once in July, and then they just, sit in the yard or in the storage facility. And we put those RVs to work. So it takes that RV for the owner. It's a blessing because it was, a liability and a payment. And now they get to earn some income, and they get the tax write-off benefits and the depreciation and all that. And then for my franchisees, it's a beautiful model because it's so low overhead. The RV owner is paying for the payment and the insurance and the storage and the maintenance. And then the renter is paying for damages, which is part of the business. Damages happen. People always ask me about that. What if it gets damaged? Yeah, then it gets fixed. There's deposits and insurance for that. And so it's just a real nice low overhead model that I love. And my franchisees, they collect a 40% management fee for doing so. That's after our royalties. So there's some good money to be made there.
Yeah, that's awesome. How'd you get started with this kind of business?
Well, one of my sayings that I love is how God takes our pain and turns it into purpose. I had bought my wife an RV for our 10-year wedding anniversary. And long story short, she wasn't as excited as I was about it. My story, it's funny because my wife just taught this class for entrepreneurial wives the other day, and I realized, oh, my story is a little different than her version. In my version, we were at the campground for like 10 minutes, and then she got in the car and went home. In her version, which is probably the reality of what happened, she was at the campground for 2 days and then went home. Regardless, 10 minutes, 2 days, she was not digging it. She went home. And so I thought, man, I've got this RV sitting here doing nothing. So I threw it up on Craigslist, and within a couple hours, people started inquiring, and my entrepreneurial brain, kicked right into gear. And I thought, oh, this is a business. And here we are. Yeah, that was in 2016. Now we've got just about 40 locations around the country. Just to clarify, our goal is 100 by the end of this year, and we have hundreds of RVs under management.
Yeah. So have you always been an entrepreneur? You said your entrepreneurial brain. What were you doing before this all happened?
Yeah, so another pain into purpose business. I gave my life to the Lord in 2003, and when I did that, I had a lot of the aftermath of that to clean up. Which one of the things was bad credit, debt collectors and all those things. So the job that I worked at the time, I would get laid off in the winter. So I went, did all the research, and I learned how to fix my credit, negotiate with debt collectors, and how to build new credit and dispute inaccurate information. And then I ended up getting fired from that job that I got saved at. I ended up getting fired from there a short while after for sharing my faith, as funny as that sounds. But then I jumped into starting a credit counseling business. That was actually right during 2008. And I was totally I didn't know anything about the real estate world. So here I am, I open a phone book and I start calling mortgage companies and realtors. It's like number disconnected, phone number disconnected. And I'm like, oh, something must be going on, and I didn't have a real estate background. I didn't realize that what was happening in the mortgage and real estate world, but got through it. And then, I started helping people rebuild credit after bankruptcies and foreclosures and this and that. And I had that company for about a decade, and it's still up and running today. I sold that several years ago.
That's awesome. Have you always been an entrepreneur, or how did you even a lot of people are doing, they don't really know. Gino Wickman wrote this book, The Entrepreneurial Leap, and he kind of argues that you're either are, you're born with it, or you're not.
Oh man, so I just published a book here recently called My Real Estate Story, and I talk about that in my book as well. I'm a firm believer that you're born an entrepreneur or you're not, and in the scripture that I have to back it up with is the gifts and callings of God are without repentance, that God puts certain gifts inside of us from the day that we're born, before we're born. And I'm a true testament to that, because before I gave my life to the Lord in 2003, I was a very successful drug dealer. I had drug homes running around Michigan. I had, employees. I had my whole corporate, it wasn't a legal entity. I had my whole business set up. And I was a successful entrepreneur, that way. But yeah, fifth grade is when I had my first business proposal that I brought to my dad to start a lawn care business. And my dad was not an entrepreneur. My dad was an employee. And he basically laughed at me and called me lazy. He thought, well, you're lazy. What do you mean? You want me to give you money to buy lawnmowers and then all the kids are going to push them around while you go sign up accounts? That's lazy. I'm like, no, Dad, that's called, I'm a businessman. I didn't know the word entrepreneur at that point in life yet, but I agree with that statement. I feel like that's in us from birth, and there's so many people that, you're driving down the road and you tell your wife or vice versa, hey, here's an idea for a product. Oh, that would be a great service. And, that's a good indicator. Hey, you're probably an entrepreneur if your brain is constantly thinking of those kind of things.
So that is interesting that you created successive businesses like that, and now you're in the RV space. So a lot of people are always looking for kind of a business opportunity, right? There are franchises and real estate and this multi-level marketing, become a real estate agent. Explain the biz op really for people who I'm curious what it looks like, right? So I want to get into this thing. I think it's a great idea. I don't have to buy the RV. That can be very expensive. I just approached an existing home RV owner and basically, look, I'm going to manage this to you. We're going to split the revenue a little bit. You're going to pay me a little bit. What does the opportunity look like?
Yeah, so it really is that simple. And that's one of the things I love about the franchise world, which I was very resistant into becoming a franchise at first, because it's a very long process, costs you six figures, there's hundreds of pages of documents, it's regulated by the FTC. But now that I've been doing this for several years, I shot a video on this the other day. I thought, man, people literally go to college and they'll drop $50,000 on a business degree taught by a professor who may have never even owned a business. And then after that, you've got your degree and you're set loose to the wolves, right? In the franchise world, it's literally regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. I have to do annual reports of if a franchise failed, why did it fail, what are my numbers, how do my books look. So that's one of the beautiful things about a business opportunity franchise. It's like you're literally purchasing into a proven system. Like you're literally cutting a check for almost guaranteed success. I mean, the reason you would fail is if you just didn't do the steps, you know, and that's what I love. So we have what's called the Fireside Fast Track Framework for our franchisees. That the 8-module course they log into, and there's videos and checklists, and we have the coaching and the mentoring, and that to me really what I feel is the biggest ingredient if you want to be a successful entrepreneur. So many people get an idea and then they just go start something from scratch. You don't have to do that nowadays. Like there is models and mentors out there where literally you can learn 20 years of somebody's ups and downs in 30 days. I mean, it's just so beautiful. So, you know, I just did a franchise expo a couple of weeks ago. It was my first one I ever did. And I was the first booth in there. And everybody that came in, I'm like, hey, go buy a business. Go buy a bit. Like, I didn't care if they bought mine or not. I'm like, go buy a business, because this is literally, you're purchasing a proven model, nationwide branding, federally trademarked. It's just like, it's a no-brainer. You know, instead of trying to start something from scratch and having to figure out a business name or a logo, you could spend 3 months just doing that.
What do you think are the biggest risks of this business model?
Biggest risk of the business model, I would say the biggest risk for somebody that are stepping into this business model first would be somebody that is too analytical. Before we became a franchise opportunity, my main location that I had in Michigan, I had an investor that had 3 units with us, and he was a very analytical guy. He had all the spreadsheets and the numbers, and he was like, oh my gosh, yes. And that, you know, and it just all, he's like, Garr, I want to start a franchise. So I sold him my location. What did he do? He literally came in and tore everything to the ground and started from square one. So we've learned through our franchise interview process, like you've got to find people that are coachable and teachable, that are not over analytical, because you can literally walk into something and start from, you know, from square one, even though there's a proven system in place. So I would say that's kind of the biggest risk for people, is making sure that the way that you're wired is right for the business opportunity, you know, because there's other opportunities out there, right, where you can purchase real estate and have a property management company take care of it for you. That if you're analytical, that's great. Like you can sit and analyze the deal and run all the numbers, and you're like, perfect, I'm going to execute and buy this property. This management company is going to do all the day-to-day. And it's great. It's just a numbers game at that point. But in our business model here, you're talking to RV owners, you're dealing with customers, you're dealing with people. There's a sales and customer service aspect to it, you know?
So are you, if you go into a franchise, are you kind of, is there enough room on the revenue side to put an operator in place, or you kind of have to act as the operator until you scale up to a few locations?
No, you can definitely put an operator in place. Most of our franchisees, they are owner operators. That's just kind of how it's unfolded. And most of our franchisees, up to about a year ago, they were literally people in the RV space, like that we found in social media. Like they're renting their RV. There's a website called RV Share, which is kind of like the Airbnb of this industry. So they're renting their RV on RV Share. They see the money, and then they find us on one of our Facebook groups, and then they, you know, join into the Fireside family. But the last year, with the different marketing we've been doing, we're bringing people aboard that are more seasoned entrepreneurs. You know, they've owned franchises, this and that. So they are plugging right in, and they're doing exactly what you said, throwing an operator in place. They're managing the operator. So you can definitely do either side of the business if you want it.
So if you want to be on RV Shore, you need access to an RV, right? So if you don't have an RV, you can't post something unless you do something what you're talking about is right, when you post someone else's RV on there. Is that how it works?
Yeah. Yep. So RV Share, a lot of people will ask us, well, how do you do against RV Share? Because they think we're competitors. Because at the end of the day, we're renting RVs, they're renting RVs. RV Share is a peer-to-peer platform. They're connecting the RVs with the renters. We're a management company, so we're just in between those two. And yeah, so we're actually RV Share's #1 customer. So we do a lot of business with them. Our niche is property management. Their niche is lead generation.
Yeah, I like how you're saying that it's easier to buy a business. I mean, we kind of feel the same way around multifamily. It's really what we're doing is we're buying an existing business and getting into something that's it's already there. It's already kind of established. It's got track record, and it makes a lot of sense to go into a franchise like that. If I wanted to kind of scale this up, what are some of your franchisees doing to kind of scale up their operations? I think Garrett talked about putting in potentially an operator in place. What does that look like?
Yeah, so there's a lot of fun opportunities. Once you get into the space, you're in through the RV rental management program. But then once you get into the space, then there's so many opportunities. Like one of our next moves that we're starting to do, we're starting to purchase storage facilities. So we're having the actual roll-up doors plus the RVs. And then our facility in Michigan, we had propane sales. We had a dump station. I had RV techs on staff that would maintenance my fleet and then also maintenance other people's RVs. Then you get into selling RVs on consignment, which, is funny. We always, because I own multi-units too and Airbnbs. And I feel like any entrepreneur, eventually you get into real estate. That's like the entrepreneurial journey. You usually end up in real estate, and that's where you really build, your wealth. Like a lot of my funds for my businesses, they roll into buying real estate. And then what we also do is we'll sell RVs for people on consignment. That's a 10 to 15% fee that the industry gets for that,
So the RV business is kind of more like a cash generating business. You talked about you actually people still use it to buy real estate on the back end. So is that right? Is that a good strategy that your franchisees follow? What if 4 videos could give you everything you need to build $10,000 a month in passive income in as little as 180 days? I've proven it many times over, and so have hundreds of other people just like you. And one of the best ways we discovered to reach financial freedom is by investing apartments. Now, I know that sounds like super advanced, but the truth is you can get started today. You don't need years of investing experience. You don't have to have millions of dollars in the bank. So register for the free Masterclass Apartments 101 today and take that first step to really discover how you can build true wealth for yourself and your family. Let's do this.
I don't necessarily know that a lot of my franchisees follow that model. Maybe a couple of them that are more seasoned entrepreneurs like myself, but that's always been my model. Once I had my credit counseling company, my whole niche was creating homeowners. So then I naturally fell into the real estate world. I published 2 books on credit. I would teach Con Ed and go into mortgage companies and work with lenders. So then I just naturally kind of gravitated towards that, and I started buying real estate. So to me, that is kind of the natural progression. You do that, but I don't necessarily know that many of my other franchisees are doing that. But to me, in any business, I feel like it's just a natural progression. Like for me next, now I'm starting to purchase storage facilities. We actually just started looking at 100 acres up in New York this morning to do a campground, storage facility, and then have our fireside RV in there as well.
At what point did you test your business model and you realized it was working well enough where you felt comfortable taking it into a franchise situation?
Yeah, so our first official, we called it a business in a box. That happened the following summer after we started. And I was in a Facebook group just kind of sharing what I was doing. And a gentleman up in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan is like, "Hey, that's cool. I'll do that with you." And so I sent him a message. I said, "Hey, here we go, man. How about I'll just show you everything I'm doing and we'll work together, and I'll have my office team be your office team and I'll answer your inquiries and this and that. And I won't charge anything. We'll just, I'll get a percentage of the rentals." And so it was about a year in, we did that. And then we started selling the businesses in the box. And then it was about 3 years ago. About 2.5 years ago that we became an actual franchise opportunity. And that was really the Lord leading me to do that because I thought that's just so much work. Like I call myself the lazy entrepreneur. Like I'm always looking for the quickest way to get things up and running and cash flowing for me to where I can get back to enjoying my wife and my kids and doing what I want.
Well, You kind of have to come up with processes and procedures that are super tight, right? I would imagine on that side. How did you figure that part out?
So really what we did is it's just documenting the journey. One of my mentors, Russell Bronson, talks about that. You got to document your journey. And so many people, we get so stuck in the day-to-day grind that we don't realize part of that day-to-day grind is actually documenting your journey. It's actually writing down what you're doing, shoot a quick video, create a quick blog post, a couple bullet points, and then you look back 30, 60, 90 days later. Oh my gosh, I have a course. I have an ebook. I have a webinar presentation. You don't realize I have content, which is everyone's always racking their brains trying to create content, but content is being created daily. It's just we're not taking the time to document while we're walking through that day, creating the content. And so some of what we did when we created our franchise opportunity, I talked to a gentleman who is like one of the gurus as far as franchise brokering. And I asked him, hey, what's the biggest thing I need to do? And he really confirmed what we're saying right now is he's like, you have to have awesome support and systems. That's why franchises fail. So we literally took 6 months, took a couple of our top locations, and we just went through and we just built out this in-depth course with videos and checklists, and even has little quizzes at the end. And we just documented and went back and did all that. And then once we launched that, then we started putting some ad dollars behind our franchise opportunity and sharing it.
So you're going to be at 100 locations, hopefully by the end of your end. You're already getting into some synergistic kind of businesses. Where do you see this going? Like, do you have any kind of visions of where this might go?
My thought had always been start, scale, sell. That's always been my thought, right? I start a business, I scale it up, and then I sell it. And really, probably the last 10 months, maybe a year, God has really put it on my heart that this is my tribe of people that I'm called to serve, which is typically Christian entrepreneurs. And why does it matter what vehicle I'm doing it through? So what's the point of building something up massively, selling it to make a chunk of money to go start all over again? That's like when I started getting into multi-units and long-term rentals and short terms. Before that, I was like flipping houses. And then I felt like, I don't know. Now I got to go do this all over again. I want to start buying multiple doors, and lowering my risk that way. And if I have vacancies and stuff. So it used to be build it to X amount value and then sell it. So I can feel cool that I got a big, huge 7-figure, payout or something. But the more we go into this, even like with the scale to 100 by the end of the year, that's something we have been saying for several months. Just this morning, Stacy and I were having our meeting, my business partner, and we decided to pull back on our marketing for new franchises because we're about to step into our busy season here, and we've got a lot of new franchises that have come on since October. And so June, July, August, literally we call them 6-figure summers. Our franchisees will pull in 6 figures in 90 days. And so we decided to scale back our marketing on franchise leads and actually focusing on servicing our franchisees and getting them through their first summer because we have so many. So it's interesting when you change that mentality about just let me blow it up to something big and then sell it. Now it's like, no, this is my community. These are the people that I'm called to serve. This is my tribe. So you start even thinking about quality over quantity. And it's definitely flipping my brain upside down how I normally think.
When we buy any apartment complexes, I think what's unique about our business model is you kind of plan the exit before you even buy the property, right? So you're already modeling and looking at that exit. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs in general don't do that in other industries as much unless you figure out that that's like your end goal. And it sounds like in the beginning, that was kind of your end goal. You're like, all right, let me figure out how I'm going to exit this thing. I'll blow it up and exit it. How did you figure out what that looked like in this type of a business model? And what steps did you take to get to a place where you felt comfortable, like you could build this to get an exit potentially?
Yeah. So you're saying, what did that look like as far as me shifting my mindset? Like I'm not exiting.
Yeah. Like where did you find, where did you get the knowledge and understanding to figure out how you're going to build something that you could exit?
A lot of it it's trial and error, right? Especially the way that I'm wired. The way that I'm wired, I don't like spreadsheets drive me crazy. Analyzing deals drive me crazy, right? That stuff just drives me crazy. So the way that I'm wired, it's usually I'm learning through pain because I'm making a choice. I have no problem making a quick decision going forward, and then pivoting. I think it's Henry Ford says that. He said, I make quick, confident decisions, and then I adjust very slowly. Like, that's what he would do. He would make quick, confident decisions, do something. Otherwise, they get stuck in this design analysis paralysis phase, this and that. And then, yeah, could I do a more analytical approach to where I'm avoiding some mistakes? You definitely could. Um, and on one side you have more gain of maybe you're moving faster. On the other side you have more gain of you're making less mistakes. So it's like, what are you best wired to handle? Can I handle, hey, I just had a $50,000 loss? Or would that totally drive you insane, knowing like, oh my gosh, how did I have a $50,000 loss? I literally ran all the numbers and all the data and 5 times this and that, blah blah blah. I can handle that was a mistake, let's pivot. That's just how I'm wired. So I think it's kind of different approaches for different folks. And one of the biggest things people get, right, is they just get stuck in where they don't make a decision. And why, which I talk about in my book, it's fear. It's fear of failure. And then on the opposite side of the fear of failure is the pride of wanting to accomplish so much that everybody tells you how awesome you are. And that's kind of how I felt like I was doing with our RV rental business for a little bit. I was just trying to blow it up to prove something to myself and others until God showed me, like Napoleon Hill calls, my definiteness of purpose. My definiteness of purpose is to serve Christian entrepreneurs. So I don't have to be worried about now so much about numbers and this and that and goals, because at the end of the day, it's about serving people and providing value, and then God takes care of the rest.
That's been really interesting, Garr. How can people connect with you and find out more about what you're doing with the RV world here?
You can definitely go to firesidrvrental.com is our main website where you can see all of our RV rentals. And then you can click in the upper corner there to learn about our franchise. And then also I do give away my book for free at myrealestatestory.com. It's a good book for Christian entrepreneurs and what I call entrepreneurs. If you're not sure, am I an entrepreneur? I kind of want to be. I don't know. Am I? It's a good book to download and read to kind of help confirm some of your suspicions that you are an entrepreneur waiting to come out.
That's a good thing to find out. So thanks again for being on the show, Garr.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Great chatting with you.